welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you are new here. Okay, today's video is going to be a mid-month wrap-up. I didn't think I was going to do one of these, but I've already read a total of 7 books this month, and it's only August 17th, and I'm currently on another book that I will finish in the next 2 hours. It's an audiobook. And yeah, I've just been finding that I have a lot of this time to read. And yeah, let's go ahead and just kind of start off with some of the statistics. So there's one book that I did not rate, and so I'll talk about that one first. But I had 2 DNFs, 1 2.5 star rating, 1 3.5 star rating, 1 4 rating, and 1 4.5 star rating. So again, kind of all over the board right now. So let's go ahead and start talking about the book that I did not give a rating, and this is because it's a very short story, and that is Where We Belong by Amanda Cox. This is like the short little novella right before her novel The Edge of Belonging, I think is The Edge of Belonging. So this short story follows the early years of the main people in that novel. So yeah, I enjoyed it. I forgot the name, but you follow the main character when she's younger, and you kind of get a little bit more of like the family history for the main guy in that book as well. And I think you kind of see Harvey and his living situation. So again, very short story. Did not feel like I should give it a rating. So all right, let's go ahead and move on to my DNFs, and I want to start with this one. So A Distant Melody by Sarah Sundin. And I actually am a little sad about this because I did only read one other Sarah Sundin book, and that I really enjoyed, and I have a couple of more on my TBR. But anyway, A Distant Melody follows the 2 characters, Allie and Walt. And so Allie is a pianist, but she is also daughter to like this very well-to-do couple, and this is centered around World War II. And she's engaged to be with the, I guess, business partner of her dad, or I guess he's the business partner, but she basically is engaged to him. And you kind of find that there's not really like a spark to their relationship, but she, is like, we'll learn to love each other. And then you follow Walt, who is in the Air Force, and he comes from a family of preachers. His brothers are preachers, but he himself wants to chart his own course. So they meet at a mutual friend's wedding and kind of spark a friendship, and there you go. So the back does say that there might be some romantic entanglements, so you kind of get where the story is going to go. I got about 24%, and honestly, it was really hard to get to page 100. That's usually my goal, is to give a book 100 pages or 80 pages, but I decided to bump it up to 100 so I can give the book a chance to grow on me. But I just find it that I was a little bored, honestly, with how the story was going. And then just some other things in there that I guess I found that I didn't really care for. So there was miscommunication, and I'm finding that I don't really like that trope. So there's a miscommunication that happens. Just didn't like the flirting in here. Let's just say that. And there was some language in here that I felt was very cringy and not like realistic. So she's a musician, and so is he. So a lot of the times the flirting or some of her thoughts went around with musical terms, and it didn't seem realistic to me to talk in that way. So those were, just the little things that caused me to want to put the book down. I don't think I'm going to continue this set of series, but I'm still going to try Sarah Sunden's other books. It was just unfortunate this series just did not, I didn't care for. So yeah, that one kind of hurt. But let me go ahead and go on to the next DNF. Oh, and let me go ahead and tell you, this is Christian fiction. So this had, I would say, a Christian faith rating of a 1.5 because of just some of the tones in there from what I've read. Okay, the next book that I did DNF is Midnight at the Blackbird Cafe by Heather Weber. This follows two people. You find out you follow like two people, but the main story is about Anna Kate. Her grandmother dies and she moves back to her hometown, and her grandmother had a bakery, and then she finds some secrets to why her mother left this town and about this mysterious blackbird pie. And so yeah, I thought it was intriguing, and I did have a subscriber tell me about this book, kind of gave me a warning or just letting me know about more about this book, but she ended up enjoying it. So I am very happy that I did go in with this book kind of being prepared. But this is magical realism. This book, it is engaging. I found myself wanting to know what the mystery was with certain things. It was about page like 100 roughly, I think 98, but it was around that point where there were certain things being talked about, like the magical realism part, where I felt uncomfortable with, and specifically with like the heritage that this young woman had, and the blackbirds, and like that whole mystery, keepers of the tree, and it's like I was prepared for something, but I guess as I was reading it, I found that I just was not comfortable reading much about it. So again, kind of sad because I know this is a well-loved book. It is rated high, and I can see that with the writing style and just like the intrigue. So, but I decided that I was just going to put it down. So yeah. This next rating I have is a 2.5 stars, and this is The Book of Lost Names by Kristen Harmel. And I think this also had a pretty high rating on Goodreads. It's also like a book club pick right here, the little icon. But this follows a woman named Eva, and she is living during World War II. She is a Jew. And she basically takes flight with her mother in this small town, and she's basically a forager. You follow Eva as an older lady going back to Germany because they find this book. Then you get the backstory and all of that. So anyway, very intriguing. I never heard anything about the foragers of World War II. I thought it was an interesting take, and yeah, I was pretty invested in this book. Now, there are some things in here that I did not really agree with, and there was definitely some problematic elements, and a lot of it was probably from her mom, and I can see that the author was trying to portray like a woman who was grieving. But there was also like a lot of bitterness and just the way how the mom was just reacting and talking to her daughter. And then at one point, I wasn't sure what angle I felt like the author was going at, because she went with like, you know, Jewish traditions and Christianity, but then it felt, I don't know. I wouldn't say that she was bashing anyone, but there were some problematic elements. To me, it felt like it kind of raised red flags a little bit of what does she mean by saying certain things dealing with certain religions, if that makes sense. But yeah, it was just pretty much okay. There is a open door scene in here. I kind of skimmed through that, so I couldn't really tell you how detailed it was. But yeah, that's in there. And yeah, just kind of skimmed pages here and there. It was okay. A little less over about the book, the actual book itself. So I kind of wished it had a little bit more about that and kind of tie up some loose ends. But overall, yeah, that's my rating for that. And I put a 0 for Christian fiction, even though it's not classified as Christian fiction. But there are some elements in there that do talk about it, Christianity. So it was kind of weird, but that's what I have to say about that book. I'm kind of iffy on my Christian fiction rating, guys. So if I gave it a 0 and you read it and probably don't agree with me, I'm sorry. I was unsure about the book, if that makes sense. So, all right, let's move on to my 3.5 star reads. So at this point, I was pretty much in a reading slump, and so I decided, you know what, let me go ahead and use one of the fairy tale retellings to listen to. And so I finally listened to The Princess Fugitive by Melanie Sellier, and I'm so happy that this kind of got me out of this reading slump I was in. This is the second book in the Four Kingdoms series, and this is a very loose reimagining of Little Red Riding Hood. And in this book you follow Ava, and she was the villain in the first book. So I was curious to see her story. And yeah, it was a good read. It was a fun take on Little Red Riding Hood. There were some moments that I felt were a little cringy, but it was definitely pretty entertaining, I guess. At least one of those nice, fluffy, entertaining reads. Very fast-paced. I like the talk of the trials. It was just what I needed to get out of this reading slump. I will also give this as a Christian fiction rating of a 0. There was a hint of like an allegorical Christian theme, so that's why I gave it a 0. Okay, my 4-star read is Cry of the Raven by Morgan L. Bussey, and I finally finished the series, the Ravenwood Saga trilogy, and this book left me desiring more, because I definitely wanted to find out what happened to certain characters, or wish certain characters had like a longer portion. But I really enjoyed it. This was the first book I read this month, so I'm trying to remember way back when, but I definitely liked the world that was built. I thought it was a good end to the series. I love the little sister, her little sister, and that's kind of like who I wished I got more of. So yeah, anyway, it was a really good book, and I'm looking at other written works by Morgan L. Bussey. This would be at a Christian fiction rating of a 3, and it's young adult series, so you might have some young adult themes in there, but again, it was a fun read and I would recommend it. So the last book I read this month was my 4.5 star read, very close to a 5 star, but that is The Paris Dressmaker. The only reason this did not get a 5-star was because of me listening to it on audiobook, and I was very confused when it jumped not only timelines, but jumped between people. So you follow 2 women during World War II, and they are both kind of centered around this couture gown in a sense. And you follow their life through World War II and right before World War II. And I absolutely loved this book. I love learning about history of fashion. That's just something that I've grown to like more of. And so hearing about haute couture, I think I'm saying it right, during the time of World War II and how that actually played a part, like people, again, playing a part in the resistance during this time with unusual jobs. Like you wouldn't think of seamstresses or people in fashion being part of a resistance team. So it was just an incredible story, historical fiction, and I think more people should pick it up, honestly. But yeah, I really enjoyed this book, and I plan on rereading it, maybe when I have a physical copy, and maybe that'll actually bump it up to a 5-star read. But yes, I was just pleasantly surprised. This would also be at a 3 for Christian fiction rating, because that is also very prevalent, like the themes of Christianity. So those were my books for the first half of this month. I hope that you guys are having a good reading month so far. And if you've read any of these books or agree or disagree with some of my ratings, I would like to know. I'm always nervous trying to give an opinion, because I know some of these books were really loved, and we all have different reading tastes, and it's always good to see a different perspective. But anyway, have a great rest of your day, and I will see you in a different video. Bye, guys.